Hey everybody, welcome to TIW Podcast. I'm Eric, and today I watched WWE Monday Night Raw episode 1404, NXT episode 558, NXT UK episode 90, 205 Live episode 176, and SmackDown episode 1079, all broadcast from April 20th through April 24th, 2020. This week I just kind of fell behind on recording stuff, and I at the end of the last wrestling episode, or at some point during that episode, since that week I had done all of the shows except for Raw as one big episode. I thought, oh, well, next week I'll probably do everything all as one big episode, and here we are. I don't want to do this again because it's a lot to talk about, and I kind of don't remember a lot of it because it was I'm recording this on the following Monday morning, or not even Monday morning. Raw starts in an hour and a half. If you're watching this on the live feed, that's we're right about to start watching Raw in an hour and 20 minutes, but I wanted to get through and talk about all this stuff. There's a lot of like exterior to the show type things that I'm not going to talk about, probably because I can't remember all of those goings on, everything. But it did allow me the opportunity. Usually I have like really, really hard to read notes like this for Survivor, is what I'm showing on the screen there. But this week, let's see here. I did take all my notes like that, but since I rewrote them, it's a lot more legible. So hopefully I won't be like squinting. I'll still be squinting at the paper, but hopefully I won't be trying to figure out if that's an R or an L or maybe it's an N. I think I use pretty clear handwriting for myself anyway. Okay, so we open up Raw with Drew McIntyre wanting a word with Seth, but Vega and her crew attack. Another Vega prevalent episode. I was very excited about that. We got her and her crew present from the beginning to the end. But this set up I think it was already announced that the main event would be Drew McIntyre versus Angel Garza. So yeah, we were on that trajectory the entire time. We had a Money in the Bank qualifier match, Aleister Black versus Austin Theory. Aleister Black won this match, not surprisingly. And when interviewed afterwards, he said, well, I'll probably have to cover all of my tattoos, to go into the corporate office there. So that was pretty funny. Then we had Shayna Baszler versus Indy Hartwell from NXT. Shayna does her arm stomp, arm breaker thing, and then also attacks her with a ladder as a preview of what's to come at the hands of Shayna in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Cedric and Ricochet teamed up to fight Shane Thorne, who has newly bleached blonde hair, and Brandon Vink. They win that match via the recoil and lumbar check combination, which was pretty awesome. Then we had Nia Jax and versus Kairi Sane, a rematch from last week. So Nia already earned her spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match, but Kairi wanted another chance. Or I'm not sure exactly why this rematch happened, but she does win again. Nia does via a Samoan drop. Or is that what she's calling the Annihilator? She didn't do like the pop-up part of it, or what was she doing? The press part of it. When she did that first and held her up and then went into the Samoan drop, that was called the Annihilator. So I don't think it was that, if I remember correctly, which I probably don't. Also at one point, I think it was Tom who said that Asuka was making a lot of good points because Asuka was backstage watching the match, and she was speaking Japanese, so that was pretty funny there. Then we had a very strange segment of carpool karaoke with the Viking Raiders. I don't know. Then we had another Money in the Bank qualifier, Apollo Crews versus MVP, and Apollo Crews won that match via the power bomb. Here is where I will talk about main event for a brief moment. Seems my internet connection went out there for a second, but MVP I think has been on commentary for the last at least in the last couple of weeks for main event. I don't know which episode of main event automatically played when I watched 205 Live on Saturday, but what did I watch? Maybe it was after I watched SmackDown, then it went to main event. But yeah, he was on. He has been on commentary, perhaps in place of Mickie James. So moving on, we then had Liv Morgan versus Ruby Riott, a sort of grudge match. It was rumored that Sarah Logan was going to be hired back right away and may have been involved in this match, but maybe they changed it up when the word got out or something. I don't know. But yeah, at this point, Sarah Logan had been released from the company. But Liv Morgan versus Ruby Riott, very good. Liv Morgan got the win. So how about that? Great for Liv. Then we had Bobby Lashley throughout this episode was in the workout portion of the performance center, where all the weights and everything are. There's these gigantic tractor tires. And he flips one of them, and then later on he struggles at first, but he eventually does flip that other tire. I don't know what this is leading to. There doesn't seem to be any friction now between Lana and Bobby Lashley. Like, he wasn't getting frustrated or with doing anything. So I guess we'll see where things go for them. Then we had another Money in the Bank qualifier match, Rey Mysterio versus Murphy. Before this match, I remember it was kind of Rey accidentally started to call him Buddy, and then corrected himself to Mysterio. I might be thinking of the previous week though, when they're talking about this coming up. I don't know. But anyway, Rey Mysterio wins the match, and he is in the Money in the Bank ladder corporate building 10 floors of hell match. Then backstage, we had an interview with Angel Garza and Zelina Vega, and after Zelina leaves, Angel asks her something like, I want you to ask me afterwards how it felt to defeat to win my match or whatever. And Charlie is like smitten, and she's like, oh yeah, I could do that. And it was really funny. I really like that. Then we had Charlotte Flair versus Kaden Carter from NXT, and Charlotte won via figure 8 leg lock. And then we had Andrade versus Akira Tazawa. Tazawa is in the middle of the Cruiserweight interim championship title tournament. So I don't know what he's doing fighting Andrade over here. That seems like a disadvantage to take on extra fights while you're in the middle of a tournament. But I don't know. Andrade won that match. And then we had the Street Profits come out and introduce Bianca Belair, which is great. Bianca fought Santana Garrett, and she won via the Kiss of Death. And then our main event was Drew McIntyre versus Angel Garza. At one point, Drew somersault senton to the outside onto all of Vega's crew, and he lands on his feet after landing on them. And it was, I can do it all. So that was pretty good. He wins via the Claymore, of course. He hits it again. He says, keep on lining him up. And Austin Theory starts to come and attack him, except that he gets hit by the Claymore as well. Earlier in that very first segment, Austin Theory and Angel Garza were with Vega on the stage, and Andrade sneak attacked Drew McIntyre, but he fought them off, and Austin and Angel were like scared. They did not want to go anywhere near him. So he grew some courage here, Austin Theory, but he was right the first time. He should have just hung back, but maybe he would have been disowned by Vega if he had done that. So I'm looking forward to Monday Night Raw tonight. They're back to doing taped episodes, but only like 2 weeks at a time. Maybe they'll do more than that after Money in the Bank. It kind of would be... I feel like that's probably more likely the case than it going to be a pattern of them doing. Or, of course, everything is speculation. Everything could change next week. Everything could already have changed today. But having just the 2 episodes before Money in the Bank, it doesn't make sense to film the episodes that are after it. If they're either going to do portions of that show live or whatnot. So I would think it's a lot easier to just do everything up until Money in the Bank. But anyway, we'll see. NXT episode 558. This is on Wednesday night. Finn Balor is missing for some reason. Velveteen Dream is interrupted by Adam Cole and then is attacked by Undisputed Era. That was at the top of the show. Then we had a great tag team match. Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai versus Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan Nox. Raquel won via a one-handed powerbomb, which I guess is a choke slam. I'm not sure how it's really that different, but I guess where you're grabbing on to your opponent changes if it's a powerbomb or a choke slam. But anyway, she delivers that powerbomb to Shotzi and gets the win there. I am delighted with all the combinations of these 4 just opening up the show every week. I'm totally fine with that. Cruiserweight tournament matches. First, we have Jake Atlas versus Jake Atlas. I thought I said Drake Atlas. Jake Atlas versus Drake Maverick. Jake Atlas wins via cartwheel DDT. Then we have Kushida versus Tony Nese. Kushida wins via his big old flip into the armbar. I feel like that was a Spanish fly into the armbar, baby. So it was crazy. And then we had Matt Riddle with Timothy Thatcher. He calls Timothy Thatcher a beautiful man that he loves looking at his beautiful blue eyes. Thatcher says, my eyes are brown. And Riddle says, I know. But anyway, that was great. And then we had this dinner time segment with encased in glass. In the middle of their table was the cup that they used to defeat Tommaso Ciampa. But Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae, like I liked this, what they did with this stylistically. That whenever the camera was like normal, there weren't any effects or anything. There was happy music. They're like a happy married couple, but whenever things turn dark, they're like, oh, we're gonna kill everybody, basically. So I enjoyed that, and I'm excited to see where things go from here. The most important thing, well, they said unappreciation is the NXT way. That Johnny is sick of being the face of the company to unappreciative fans, and that Candice LeRae was tired of eating second, of always taking care of her friends and helping her friends succeed, and then she just gets forgotten. A huge example of that is at Survivor Series, or at War Games and Survivor Series, but mostly War Games, that it was her and Rhea, and she doesn't get any credit. Like, nobody ever talks about because Rhea got the win, but it was just her and Candice fighting off all of their opponents for that entire match, and she doesn't get nearly the recognition as Rhea. There's a great video promo from or video package from Io, and she says she bows down to no one, especially not the Queen, Charlotte Flair. And then there's an interview with Drake Maverick. So the strange thing, this is so weird how this story. They're making this a story. They're using this as a storyline, and however way it's actually happening is every single way is so weird. So a bunch of people were released, not just wrestlers, but also producers, stuff like that. But I guess the producers were furloughed along with a lot of people in the office, whatever. But anyway, like 20 wrestlers were announced as released, including Drake Maverick. But he's here on TV. He's getting a lot of screen time. He probably has the most screen time out of anybody on this episode. With the match and then this interview afterwards, and that he's devastated, and they even show at least part of his video that he posted when he was released. And it's so weird because on one hand, he was released and now he's getting this opportunity because his video is so moving, perhaps, or other reasons, I don't know. And on top of that, either he is going to be hired back, or they're giving him a lot of screen time for his last 3 appearances on WWE for now. So that's kind of weird that way. But I think that's the way that makes the most sense, maybe. But the alternative is that this was planned and he has not been released, and that him being part of the release people and all that, and his video and everything was all part of the plan. So I don't know about that. That is much shadier, I think. Not shade. I mean, yeah, because it's like, I think it's the first thing, and that he will eventually maybe be hired back, hopefully, but not necessarily hired back like right now, but kind of just capitalizing on his pain in a way. But yeah, either way, that's really weird, because if it is that second situation, then how is that presented to him? Like, okay, you're going to be announced as released along with these other people who are released, but you are not. But don't tell them, but also you're released. Or maybe they this was their intention, but they didn't tell him that it wasn't real or something. I don't know. But I'm interested. I'm glad we get to see him on screen a little bit more. And we'll see how his other 2 matches. He lost his first match here, so his only chance is to win the other 2, and that the other person who has the 2-1 record is somebody who he beat, because it comes down to a head-to-head record. If the other person who has a 2-1 record is his opponent from this week, Jake Atlas. If Jake Atlas wins one more match, then he's going to be in the title match. But we'll see what happens on the next 2 weeks of NXT. Let's see what's up next. We had okay, so Mia Yim versus Jessie Khmer. I think this is Jessie's first appearance on NXT television with her new persona and her new name. She has appeared previously just as Jessie. She has had the kind of nerdy look and was really bubbly and happy and all that. And I really enjoyed all the matches I've seen, both in person and on NXT TV, with that persona. But now she's Jessie Khmer, and she's kind of mean. She seems a lot like Vanessa Bourne's character, both her look and her attitude and stuff. So I'm not really sure how I feel about it. I mean, she's great, but this character, I'm not on board with it yet. Mia Yim wins via Protect Your Neck. And then Charlotte comes out and challenges Mia Yim, and says that she's a good hand and that she's looking forward to making Mia Yim a star, because Mia helped make Charlotte a star 5 years ago, or however long ago that was. Because it was mentioned last week that Mia Yim was Charlotte's first opponent on NXT television, so that's kind of cool. And I think that match happens next week, and it's happening before Charlotte fights Io Shirai. So that seems kind of weird. I don't know if maybe it's not a title match, but it seems kind of weird that they had this big and ladder match to determine who her next opponent would be, who the next NXT championship challenger would be. But then all these other people are getting matches before Io does. I'm not sure what that's about. Maybe all these matches that Charlotte's been having, they haven't been for the title. That's probably what, and I'm not paying enough attention to hear them mention that. But anyway, the last Cruiserweight tournament match of the episode, El Hijo del Fantasma versus Jack Gallagher. Phantasma wins, and then afterwards, so the other two abductions, kidnappings that have taken place were after Kushida's matches. His opponents were kidnapped. So that should have happened to Tony Nese if that was the actual pattern. But it happened after Phantasma's match, and Phantasma is attempted to be kidnapped, but he fights them off. But now I'm thinking, as I'm saying this, perhaps he had this set up so that he has deniability as having anything to do with that. So we'll see how all of that goes. It's like, okay, people are figuring out that it's probably me because I keep getting these other guys kidnapped. But if I'm attempted to be kidnapped, then they won't suspect me. So I suspect Phantasma even more than I did before. We'll see how that works out next week. And then our main event, we had Velveteen Dream and Keith Lee versus Adam Cole and Roderick Strong. But what's his name? Damian Priest and the rest of the Sweet Era got involved. So Keith Lee was taken out of the match. And then as the match progressed, Dexter Lumis appeared on the apron and like, okay, that's my tag team partner now. And Velveteen Dream pinned Adam Cole, and we'll see how all of that goes. So yeah, I really liked the Dexter Lumis aspect of this match. That was absolutely my favorite thing about that match. Real quick, NXT UK, episode 90. A lot of documentary type segments and interviews talking about Walter and Tyler Bates leading into their match at TakeOver Cardiff. That was last September. So yeah, this episode is really cool. If you haven't seen TakeOver Cardiff, then check this out. I mean, it's the main event of that TakeOver. Go watch that entire TakeOver because the entire TakeOver is awesome. But yeah, then they also had their thoughts during the match. Interjected every now and then, side by side, screen side by side. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, no new matches for NXT UK. There'll probably be a while longer still until we get new original matches from them. 205 Live, episode 176. I did watch this before I watched SmackDown. They didn't talk about anything that happened on SmackDown, so that was fine because it was all the matches that made me from Arya Daivari. So that was really cool. Like last week, we had D. Brian Kendrick choose his matches. This week, Arya Daivari chose his. Steve Austin versus Bret Hart from Survivor Series 1996 is his classic match that he chose. And then his personal match was Oney Lorcan versus Arya Daivari. Anything goes. Go back to my episodes about this. I just kept saying I couldn't help but sing. I still can't help but sing anything goes. That was from last July, the week before Extreme Rules, and that was the July 9th episode, or episode number 137, if you want to watch the entire episode. But you can watch this whole match here on this week's episode. So yeah, that was pretty cool. They're kind of saving having to do any original matches on here. They have the Cruiserweight title tournament matches over there on NXT, and this format is pretty cool. If they're going through all the originals, then they only have like five weeks total of this format. But yeah, I'd like to see Jack Gallagher's picks. We also have Tony Nese. He's one of the originals. Who else is an original who's still there in NXT? Or there in 205 and NXT, yes. But anyway, I enjoyed that. I don't think I had seen that Steve Austin versus Bret Hart match. Back then, I watched only WCW, and I think it wasn't until like 1999 maybe that I started watching both. And then, 2000, 2001, I had no choice but to only watch WWF. But yeah, it's cool to look back on those. I'm pretty sure I had not seen that match before, but it was at Madison Square Garden because you got the entryway, the camera looking directly into that entryway, which is remodeled since then. So the shows that you see at Madison Square Garden now have the regular setup that they have. Okay, that brings us to SmackDown. I'm doing pretty good on time here. I thought I would be like at 45 minutes by right now, but it helps to have good notes. I think it helps a lot to have good notes. So we had SmackDown episode 1079. I haven't mentioned where these episodes were taking place. They're all in Florida. Anyway, we opened up with the New Day being interrupted by Lucha House Party, who are Lucha lit, they say, and I am calling this episode. It took me this long to get to this because this is when the reference happens. I'm calling this episode Lucha lit because Phantasma won his match, Rey Mysterio won his match, and Lucha House Party here, they won their match. Skipping ahead a little bit, they fight Miz and Morrison. I forget. I think it was Dorado who hit a sunset flip roll up on the Miz and got the victory there. So across all the shows, we have all the shows are Lucha lit right now, and of course we have this basically Lucha faction running wild on everybody over there on Raw. So yeah. That's why this episode is called that. Miz and Morrison, they want their titles back, and the Forgotten Sons make themselves known. I already forgot that they're like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, self-fulfilling prophecy, being called the Forgotten Sons. There's no question that they'll show up, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Like every single time, unless they win a championship, and even then, they'll come out with their championships and they're like, "Oh yeah, I forgot that they're the champions right now." It's a self-fulfilling why can't I say that word? Prophecy. Anyway. We had 2 Money in the Bank qualifier matches, one men's and one women's. I did like that they split it up over here on SmackDown, that we had just one per week, instead of just going through all 3 of them. I don't know what why they made that difference, but maybe after doing all 3 on Raw, they're like, oh, now we're out of those matches and we just have to kind of stall for the women's matches the next couple of weeks. But it is so awesome. They are continuing. They still have had a lot of women's matches on all of the shows, and that's great. I hope that continues forever. I hope that never ends. But anyway, this first match, Baron Corbin versus Drew Gulak, Money in the Bank qualifier. Baron Corbin wins. This is after Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro, who I guess are somewhat aligned with Baron Corbin, or maybe they just don't like Daniel Bryan. That's how much they don't like Daniel Bryan and Drew Gulak, that they wanted to cost them the win. So, they attack Daniel Bryan. That provides enough of an advantage, distraction, etc., that Baron Corbin wins. Then we had Sheamus versus Daniel Vito from NXT. Sheamus just destroys him, and then he goes over to Michael Cole's desk. After they thought they were clear, they thought Sheamus had left. They showed the part 3 of the Jeff Hardy story or whatever they're doing, and then during the entrances for Miz Morrison versus Lucha House Party, Sheamus is there. He's just there, and he assaults Michael Cole. He grabs his headset, throws it off, and is very, very unhappy. Then, like I said, Lucha House Party wins that match. And then we have a Money in the Bank qualifier, Lacey Evans versus Sasha Banks. Lacey Evans wins via the women's right. This is because Sasha should have won. She got a roll-up, but the referee was distracted by Bayley. He was over there yelling at her because she was gloating and some other stuff. I'm not really sure what happened, why the referee was so worried about what was going on. But Sasha is pissed. She gets pinned after getting hit with the women's right, and then Tamina attacks Bayley on the entrance ramp afterwards, and this whole situation, it's that their friendship is likely doomed at this point. But Lacey Evans is in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Next week we have Carmela versus Mandy Rose for the final spot in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. I'm still not sure. It seemed like from the promo video that the two matches are going to happen at the same time, which would be amazing. But they might have just had them both hanging on there to make the shot easier. They're like, oh, we can show both of the things in the one shot, and that's a lot easier than just from a presentation standpoint, it makes sense to have both of those suitcases hanging above there. But I would absolutely love it if both of these matches happen at the same time. That would be so cool. Then we had a video package about Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt. That was pretty good. And then we had a women's tag team championship match. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross defended successfully against Carmela and Dana Brooke via a modified 3D, which is the first time that they have done this move. I don't know what they call their version of it. They could just call that move the Bliss Cross applesauce, but it would make sense. It was a pretty good match. And then we had like 25 minutes to celebrate 25 years of Triple H at the end of the show. I don't know if it was actually that long, but Shawn Michaels comes out, and then Stephanie calls, and then Ric Flair calls. It's very weird. And then Vince comes out, and he tells a story about the Gobbledygooker making its debut at the same show as that the Undertaker made his debut, and it's all very weird. Go watch it. Go check that out if you want. But if you're going back to watch this episode, you can stop after. There's no reason to watch after seeing Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross defend their championships. Like the rest of the show is just like weird stuff. So anyway, that is all the stuff from the TV shows this past week. There's all kinds of rumors and controversies and other outside news and all of that, but I don't want to talk about any of that stuff since some of it kind of like seemed, well, I don't know if it's been talked about less, any at all, but I've just kind of tuned out from reading a whole lot of the news on Reddit and stuff like that. But one thing that I did see that is kind of cool is that they have a couple of merchandise items for The Undertaker. The first is a plaque that has actual dirt from the Boneyard match, rather. I don't know if it's actual dirt from having buried AJ Styles in that grave or whatnot, but that is a fun idea for merchandise. So good job there. And then also they have a Undertaker mini title, and I don't know if they had this before. They might have had this all along, and I just didn't notice that it was on the website because it was like in a different part of the mini title page or something. But I kind of want to get that. It was really cool. Getting the full on like $400 Undertaker belt seems like a lot, like really overkill. But if he's your favorite wrestler, then it is pretty awesome. But being just, I like him a lot. Maybe he's top 20 for me. I don't know. I haven't made a definitive list or something, but to play it safe, probably top 10, definitely like top 20. But anyway, for not being my favorite ever wrestler, I think having the mini title would be pretty cool. But I'll probably wait till it's on sale or something like that because it is more expensive than most of the other ones. Aside from, it's the same price as the WrestleMania mini belt, which I was informed finally shipped today. My other WrestleMania t-shirt has not shipped yet, but maybe it's a print on demand one. So maybe that one will take a while longer. But I'm excited to get that. I'll post a picture of it on Instagram, TIW Podcast, when I do get that at some point. I should post the cup from WrestleMania 36 that I got, but I haven't yet. Anyway, so that is it. Let me know what you thought about all this last week's shows and what you're excited for this week and for Money in the Bank by tweeting me at TIW Podcast. Go to TIWpodcast.com for more reviews. If you enjoyed this episode or anything else on the site, please share some links with your friends. Subscribe in iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, wherever you like to listen. Stay safe out there and healthy and happy. I messed that up. In all the infinite multiverses, and I'll see you next time here on TIW Podcast. Bye.